I think we can all agree that the Quarry is far from being perfect. And that's totally okay. It's still a highly enjoyable experience from start to finish and one of my favorite releases of 2022. However, every enjoyable game, perfect or not, can have flaws, issues, or things that some would consider downright nonsensical. I am a very active user on the Quarry subreddit, on which I very often stumble upon very similar posts that talk about very similar issues or things that simply rub them the wrong way. Whatever it's inconsistencies, questions they can't find answers for, or some things that it would consider a mistake, if not even a plot hole. Today I want to take a look at some very common things that have been brought up within the community. We will inspect those questions and thoughts and potential issues to really find out what is up with them. Plot hole, bug, mistake, logical to illogical explanations, minor inconveniences, or even fully game impacting. Today we are taking a look at overall 12 things in the Quarry, if not even more, that the community keeps questioning. Kicking things off with one of the most frequently asked about things about the Quarry. We know that all counsellors can get infected throughout the game. 3 of those, Nick, Max, and Laura to be exact, will always be infected, while the other 6 are dependent on your choices or your skills with the quicktime events. If you, as example, fail to properly escape the werewolf attack with Abigail in chapter 3, she will be bitten and therefore infected. The problem is, it's never really addressed, nor does she show any signs of an infection either. I haven't seen footage of a run where Abigail does get infected, but I did read that her behavior apparently doesn't change, while Nick is basically dying next to her and the others after being similarly attacked. Again though, we know that she's for sure infected, yet she also never transforms, but there's a logical explanation for that. Just like Nick getting infected is a fixed event, so is Kaylee getting killed near the pool. The theory is that during the attack in chapter 3, both Caleb and Kaylee are hunting at the same time. So while Nick is always bitten by Caleb, Abigail might get bitten by Kaylee, depending on you. That means if Abigail is infected, Kaylee will always be killed, which therefore means Abigail will always turn out to be cured. Thing is, this is never truly confirmed and is basically just a theory / explanation that the player base had to come up with themselves. Again though, the fact that Abigail does not show any signs of infection does make me think that the developers actually just kind of forgot about it, or at least didn't probably polish that arc. I think they definitely could have made a better job with showing that Abigail also feeds the infection, while then definitely also addressing that it was indeed Kaylee that bit her with a simple voice line. Basically, once Laura explained everything in chapter 7 and Abigail was infected and is now still alive, she could put 1 and 1 together and mention that she was also bitten, but probably by Kaylee, which is why she didn't turn like Nick. I think that would have made things a lot more understandable. We just talked about them and we'll now go even further into detail about Kaylee and Caleb, because there's one thing that many people have been asking themselves. Why didn't these two just stay within their cages? Again, this is something that isn't really confirmed within the game, but there's one evidence that can make you at least guess. In the Hackett's house, you could find a letter from Kaylee to her mother, which clearly sounds like she and her brother are kinda done with the way they have to live and that they want to be free. This somewhat rebellious and frustrated way of writing could suggest that the siblings did not want to stay inside that night and basically broke out against instructions. However, we do know already from the other clues that there were times where they just let the kids and Chris roam free through the forest, hence the ranger boxes. But even then, given that Chris talked with Jedediah before leaving and the hunters can clearly be seen seeing the kids before full moon, you would think they or Chris would inform the siblings in time that this night they gotta stay in the cages because the counselors are still around. And given the fact that both Kaylee and Caleb actually know the counselors, you would think that even though they're sick of the way they live, they would listen to instructions to keep those they spent all summer with safe. Or were the frustrations too big and they didn't care? Or, and this is probably the easiest explanation for not just this but many other issues, and not just this game but many others, it just needed to happen because otherwise the game wouldn't work the way it is. It seems kinda weird, and they could have done a better job at making clear why they're out that night, but again, It's horror, it's a video game, some things just need to be the way they are to make for a story, even if it's flawed or not always perfectly logical. Characters and their decisions have to be done for a story to make sense sometimes. Kaitlyn and Caleb are generally the two characters that I will specifically take under examination in a future video, in which I want to talk about some things that I would have changed or done differently in the Quarry. But that's for the future, so let's continue. This goes into a very similar direction of what we just talked about. We can all agree that Chris did a bad job at making clear to the counsellors that they should really stay inside. They're rebellious young adults, so he could have guessed that one taken for four. On the other hand, he can't just reveal the truth about his family because, well, that will make things even more problematic. So then, logically, you would think that Jedediah and Bobby would try their best to explain to counselors what's going on to prevent any further problems, which in this case could be fatal. I mean, realistically, if they get just one of the kids killed, they will probably have to kill all the other kids or in some way deal with everyone else to keep their secret a secret. Because if not, their secret will be revealed and it's going to be a big clusterfuck. So you would think that Chris or the hunters would come up with a logical explanation that doesn't necessarily reveal their secret and the existence of the werewolves, but actually keeps the kids inside. Something along the lines of, this is my father and my brother, they will hunt predators throughout the night, stay inside to remain safe and out of harm's way, do not leave at all costs, it would be dangerous tonight. Yes, it would have been questioned why tonight specifically and all that stuff, but again, they literally didn't even try to make clear to the kids that they need to stay inside. Which again brings me to the same point, sometimes characters just have to be stupid for a story to unfold, as it otherwise wouldn't even happen. Flaws and mistakes create problems, and those problems culminate into a story for us to experience. It's up to us to decide if we enjoy or dislike that story, even if they had to purposely make the characters do illogical or stupid things for it to work out the way it did. Some people don't mind it, some find it infuriating. What do you think? Something a little bit quicker in between, and honestly I can't believe how many posts there have been asking this same question over and over, because this question basically shows me that these people never actually played the game and only watched other people play it, or they did play it but didn't probably inspect every detail. The camp runs for 2 months, with one full moon at the day before start and one at the last day. But what's up with the full moon in the middle of the camp? How have they managed to prevent anything from happening here? Well, as seen by a calendar in Chris's office as example, there is a mandatory slumber party that night, due to which all counselors and kids spend the night in the lodge together, with both Chris and his siblings realistically in the Hackett home in the cages. Given the fact that sellers could still be running around though, definitely not the 100% safest solution, but one that still works as an actual in-game explanation as to what happened that night. This is something that a lot of people have theorized about, simply for the fact that it's never truly revealed within the game. We know that Silas is the head of the cursed chain. He's the one that bit Caleb, who then proceeded to bite Kaylee and Chris, and so on and so on. So, where did the curse come from? How did Silas become a werewolf? How did all of this happen? Some say that it was Eliza, who according to Travis found Silas and used him as an attraction in her show. Did Silas, who we can assume is a witch, cast a spell on Silas to make him a werewolf? Did she do it while he was alive or after her death to keep her son strong and make it a way to punish the Hacketts for what they've done? Was Silas already a werewolf before the fire or before she even found him? They call him the Dog Boy, but it's never revealed that he was actually a werewolf during his time at the Freak Show. The Freak Show is generally a big question mark that isn't probably explored. Given the fact that the events happened within the 2010s, how did none of the people that watched the attractions call the police to investigate what's going on? I mean, the Dog Boy is not normal. Would at least one person try to check on the sideshow after the fire? How did not a single soul outside of the Hacketts know about the fire? There must have been at least one person that saw the signs and tried to find the Harum Scarum just to find its burned down remains. Again, games can't always be logical, so the game really wants you to close your eyes and just let a freak show like that in the 2010s go through. But yeah, this entire curse question seems to have purposely made a mystery. It's like the game tells you that it's not that important to know where the curse came from. You know how it works, you know what happens to the people and how to deal with the werewolves. Is the origin even that important? There is no answer to this question, only theories. The game purposely leaves it in the open for the player to think about and basically choose whatever they want to believe. We're dealing with something that is supernatural, and therefore it seems fitting to keep it as a mystery and unexplored as possible. It's up for you to judge whether you like that approach or would have enjoyed to see more backstory. Another minor thing that probably a lot of people haven't even realized or thought about, because from experience we have realized that the only way to truly kill a werewolf is with silver. Gunshots of any kind will only slow them down, which means that there is no true way to neutralize a werewolf without eliminating it. Which brings up the question, how did Travis manage to fend off werewolf Chris and then proceed to save Max from the storm shelter with just a handgun? We know that Max survives, so he must have pulled him out of the shelter and then closer to keep Chris captive. But can Travis really keep Chris away like that with just a handgun? Again, for the sake of the story, he can. Realistically, you could think he poured some blood on his face in combination with some bullets, then managed to keep Chris away from himself while rescuing Max. That seems, for the game's logic, plausible, a minor question with a compelling solution. Let's stay with Travis though, because in Chapter 10, when he, Laura, and Ryan manage to survive the car attack and make their way to kill Silas, they will come across the burned down ruins of the Harum Scarum, to which he says,
"Damn, I never saw any of this."
I didn't even know this was here.
How did Travis not know that is still there? He must have known where the freak show fire is, right? And even if he didn't, obviously Kaylee and Caleb know where it was, so they probably told them or the other Hacketts as well. Did he just think that everything just magically disappears? Generally, how did none of the Hacketts ever think about hunting there? Did they never assume that Silas may still be roaming around the place where he used to, I don't know, live? Again, as you may have realized by now, the Hacketts are a bit stupid, or at least the game makes them that way. Seriously, making this video kinda showed me that the game has a lot more logic or than you at first may think. So many character decisions, especially of the Hacketts, seem extra dull to some make this thing a story that can be played. Again, kinda shows once more that the game, but most importantly the story, is far from perfect, and like most horror, doesn't want you to think about it too much. But that's what we're doing here. So yeah, the Hacketts are quite incompetent, which is the explanation for the majority of the game's events. I honestly could have combined this point and the one earlier where we talked about the Hacketts being unable to properly warn the counselors because, well, both just end with the Hacketts just not being the brightest people, okay? But I wanted to have 12 things to talk about because there are 12 full moons every year. The last minor inconvenience before we get to some actual errors. Emma will always make her way to the island in her underwear, and the first thing she does there is record a vlog for her followers. But that raises the question, where did the phone come from? Where did she keep it? We know she had it before already, so it can't have been on the island. So let's assume it's waterproof and she crossed the river basically with it. We saw she didn't jump into the water with it in her hands, so where did she keep it? In her bra? In her panties, or, you know? Kinda reminds me of this NPC in Unova in Pokemon. Again, it's Emma's thing that she records vlogs, so she has to have her phone with her. Is it a big deal that she assumingly teleported it to the island? No, it's a silly thing that the game just wants you to ignore, but I don't, because that's what we're doing in this video, be nitpicking little detectives. Sorry, not sorry. From teleporting smartphones to actually game-impacting bugs. This thing is such a major issue that I actually made a video about it nearly 3 months ago. I will advise you to watch that full video to get a full detailed look into this problem. But to repeat it here in short, it's basically possible for Emma to get infected due to seemingly not that important choices, even though she's never visibly bitten or attacked in any form, which is either a mistake and therefore a bug, or a missing cutscene. Again, this thing can hugely impact your entire playthrough, as an infected Emma would change a lot, which can lead to her death or the death of others. Seriously, it's insane that after all this time now, they apparently still haven't fixed it. We stay with Emma on the island because here is a mistake that the developers 100% just forgot about. If you as Emma decide to look through the bags before opening the trapdoor, you will put on some clothes, which are in this case Max's. Because you took his clothes, Max will then, if Chris was killed, have to wear Laura's clothes after turning back into his human form. Why Emma didn't pick Laura's clothes in the first place? Who knows. Anyways, if you decide to open the trapdoor first Emma will be killed. Logically, that means Emma never took Max's clothes, yet even if he turns back with Emma killed in her bikini, he would still pick Laura's clothes, even though his clothes are still there. As mentioned, this is something that the developers definitely just missed, okay? They were so busy with all the other stuff that they just forgot about this clothing, okay? They just didn't pay too much attention to it. I guess it's nothing too major, right? And in my headcanon, honestly, I would just imagine that Max had the opportunity to choose what to wear and he felt like showing off his abs today, okay? Show him off, Max. Show him off. We know that the werewolves will spare other infected humans, even in non-werewolf form, as seen by Jacob, Dylan, and Kaitlyn, which raises the question, why does Chris kill Ryan, even though he may have gotten bitten by Laura? A logical explanation would be that Ryan's infection has not reached a specific status yet for the other werewolves to be recognized. The infection is in general a not 100% studied disease. We only know what the characters know from experience, so yeah, this could work as a theory, but I looked into things a bit more detailed, which kind of makes it less logical. In chapter 6, Jacob may get infected and just a few moments later get his entire face caught up in a bear trap, and he survives due to the infection. There are literally just moments between these two things, which means that the infection must have influenced his body instantly. In chapter 9, if we look at the times of the events, there are around 10 to 15 minutes between Ryan being bitten and potentially killed by Chris. What does that tell us? That the regenerative / healing abilities basically take immediate effect, while the werewolves can smell your scent and realize that you're infected up until like an hour or something? But if the healing abilities do work like that, then how did Laura not realize that her eye has healed up until Ryan told her? There was over an hour between her getting effective and their conversation in the pool house. How did she not realize already that she can see again? I think this entire clusterfuck just tells us that the infection, just like the curse itself, is a really unexplored core part of the game that leaves the players with lots of questions. It's inconsistent and makes for moments like these that make you wonder, how does it work? Why did this happen? What the hell? Again, the game purposely makes the curse a mystery that isn't fully explored, but here, for what is known about the infection, it really feels like a mistake or purposely ignored because they didn't want a path where both Ryan and Chris survive the quarry. To wrap things up, we're looking at something that is actually quite major, okay? The end credits of The Quarry are probably the most replayed section of every single The Quarry playthrough, okay? So many people tune in into the final part of the playthrough to see in a cool little slideshow who survived and who died in this person's playthrough. I've actually heard about many experiences with these end credits where it's actually bugged, you know, where it just really shows a different end credit than it's supposed to be. Like, as example, Dylan died, but he gets shown as he survived, you know, something like that. But there's actually one bug with these end credits that is actually huge and actually impacts the story in some way. We just talked about how Chris can kill Ryan. Ryan is the only person that can kill Chris. If you don't, Chris will survive. Yet, there apparently is no end credit that shows that Chris is cured. We know that in order to kill Salis, we need to kill Chris. Yet the game also told us that Salis bit Caleb, who then proceeded to bite Chris and Kaylee, which should technically mean that if we keep Chris alive and then proceed to kill Caleb, Chris should be killed. And it is possible for Chris to be alive and for Caleb to die, but there's apparently no end credit that shows that this is the case. The only for Chris existing end credits are that in the Hackett house, waking up in the forest, or hanging from a rope, and that both as infected. I think it's clear that this is either a bug or just a mistake. But given the fact that I've literally never seen anyone see an end credit with Chris cured, it's probably a mistake that the developers actually didn't realize. Well, yikes. Damn. Okay? Making this video, writing this script now for several hours, and now actually recording this, really showed me that The Quarry is much more flawed than you actually would think at first. They basically don't really want you to inspect it too detailed or take a too close look at its story, because otherwise you'll run into many illogical things like I just did. Things that make you go, oh my god, these characters are so stupid. Things that make you go, holy moly, they could have done a better job of explaining that. Or simply things where you go, oh well, I guess I made a mistake. But even despite all that, it does not change the fact that my blind playthrough experience of The Quarry was extremely enjoyable and that I still truly adore the game the way it is. And as mentioned, I will make a video in the future where I will take another closer look at the Quarry and will showcase to you what I would have done differently while keeping the core of the game alive. But that is something for the future. For now, I hope you had a lot of fun with this very detailed look into some of the Quarry's issues. Took a lot of time, okay, both writing the script and now recording it and then editing it all together. So please leave a like down below to show me that you enjoyed the video. Leave your thoughts and other issues that I may have missed or not talked about today down below in the comments as well. And as always, if you enjoy what I'm doing, if you want to support me, then gladly leave a sub as well. It would help me a lot. We will see each other again with more The Quarry and Supermassive Games content down the road. We have a lot of other great playthroughs and edited gameplay and more coming up on this channel. So for whatever content you may be interested in, for whatever content you may want you in for, I will see you again soon on this channel. Stay safe, and happy. Have a great time. Have a great remaining week. And see you again soon with more The Quarry, Supermassive Games, or other content. Thank you so much for watching.